All right, welcome in, Buck fans. Week 14 edition of the No Quarter Given podcast, a winning week edition. Bucs moved to 5-7 with a 21-18 win over the Carolina Panthers. Raymond James Stadium, a very wet Raymond James Stadium, as we will get into here in a second. I'm your host, Jason, along with Peter Blake. Welcome in, Peter.
What's going on, buddy? A winning edition of the No Quarter Given podcast here on the BuckPower.com network. It's nice. It's nice for a change.
As you were sitting up in the press box eating your 4 plates of whatever press box delights you were being issued, I was sitting in the end zone getting drenched and poured on. But as long as there's a W in the formula, I'll take getting wet. So ugly day at Raymond James Stadium from a weather perspective, huh?
Absolutely. And I tell you right now, somebody needs to tell Florida to stop being a bipolar woman. Decide what you want to do. Sorry, guys. One day you're cold and the next day you're hot and then it's a monsoon. Like, come on, let's figure this out. Let's get the cold temperatures here, fall, winter. Let's turn the page here. I'm tired of the heat and I'm tired of the rain. And I tell you right now, trying to do a post-game show out in the rain, not necessarily the best idea, okay? Then you forget the screw that you put down in the desk to put the desk down. And genius over here, yours truly, somebody on the sideline decided to dump a fan that had all kinds of water. Well, consequently, they dumped the water where me and JP were supposed to do our stand-up. So me, being the genius that I am, tried to move the cart without the screw holding down the board. And guess what happened? Everything went down in the water. Thank God my laptop didn't get damaged. Thank God my mics didn't get damaged. But I was like, okay, screw it. We're going on the cell phone. We're going to do the cell phone shot. I don't know, man.
Do you not have access to the tunnel at all, where you could do something in a tunnel?
You got to have
a little bit of air coverage.
Well, see, here's the thing. I try to go to the 40-yard line because that's where the plugs are. And
yeah, but when it's raining, bro.
Right. Well, when it's raining, I've done rain before, but, I didn't think it was going to be raining that bad. It was going to be that wet, and it was really wet. And then the guy didn't help the situation when dumping out the fan. Like, come on, man. Just wait till I get my shot. And I shouldn't have moved it. It was just a weird day overall. We got the camera shot done. It was fine. Uncle TJ Reeves came on. It was good. But, yeah, when it's that wet, don't do that. Don't try that at home, kids. If you have all this professional equipment, just put it away. Put it away somewhere. Ask to go somewhere else. Don't do that.
The amazing part about the game Sunday was all the rain. There was no lightning. There was no lightning. I was shocked where you had up in Pittsburgh, you had 2 lightning delays and all that. And somehow, some way, because it got pretty black there for a pretty good bit during the second quarter. I was shocked that we didn't have any lightning and thus a delay. So Bucs win 21-18. We will not have a Paul Stewart montage this week of the Atlanta Falcons. If you are interested in the montage of the Falcons, go back to our previous episode that we talked about the first game with the Falcons. You can listen to that montage, or you can go to Buck Power TV on YouTube to see it, or you can go to my YouTube. No, you can't go to my YouTube channel, but Buck Power TV is the place to go, and you can probably go to buckpower.com. The previous montage is probably on there somewhere if you look hard enough on buckpower.com. So, but no montage. Peter and I are going to recap the game. We'll preview this week in Atlanta, and we're going to get to all that good stuff. So, all right, give me a general thought about the game Sunday, 21-18 final.
Slow-moving game, a lack of urgency. Even though the Bucs get out, you thought that they would have a better effort versus the Carolina Panthers. I get it; they have a new coach, it inspired, but they should be in disarray. This offense struggled, and I thought Baker Mayfield had most likely his worst game of the season.
He did struggle. It was not good. How much of it's attributed to the weather, we don't know. Play calling, I didn't love some of the play calling. Again, you had to me, when it's wet out, you got better opportunities with your receivers. They know where they're going. The DBs are going to be a little more cautious as far as back pedals and that kind of stuff. So you had opportunity to throw the ball a little bit more than I did. For me, Bucs were depleted on defense. A lot of guys out. You had J.J. Russell in there. You had Ryan Neal playing linebacker. He's normally a safety. Obviously, you had no Devin White. You had, Jamel Dean was out. So you had a lot of guys out on defense. We had a little history, though. Hit a little history on offense. Mike Evans, 10th straight year, gets to 1,000 yards. right there with Jerry Rice, only two guys in the history of the league, really close to 100 touchdowns. He's getting there. So another stellar performance, 7 catches, 162 and a touchdown. And obviously highlighted by the 75-yard kind of skinny post that was overturned on replay. So good for Mike Evans.
Yeah, great for Mike Evans. Of course, 10 straight, 1,000 wide receiving seasons, one away from tying most likely the greatest wide receiver of all time, maybe one of the greatest players of all time, and Jerry Rice. This is why I say he's first ballot Hall of Famer, being Evans, because he's never played with a consistent quarterback, a top upper echelon quarterback, and he continues to put.
Well, he played 3 years with Tom. Come on now.
But the majority of his career, it wasn't Tom Brady.
I got you.
It was Tom Brady. He's never had a consistent, like, imagine if he had Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady for the majority.
For 6 or 7, 8 years. Right.
Exactly. Put up bigger numbers. So, with that being said, it was great to see. It was also great to see Todd Bowles challenge it because, he wouldn't have challenged it. And thank God they were at home. J.P. Peterson even mentioned this because they kept on replaying it, and it clearly showed that Mike Evans across the pylon there, and I think maybe if it was on the road, he wouldn't have challenged it. So good on Todd Bowles, not only calling a timeout before halftime, using one of those timeouts because you can't save them, and most likely you're not going to get a bonus for having them, but also challenging that play, which really took the momentum away from the Panthers, because at the time the Panthers were up 10-7, and Bucs fans were like, uh-oh, here we go again. But Baker Mayfield, big time play to Mike Evans, changes the momentum, and then after that you get a Chris Godwin touchdown. But neither here nor there. Congratulations to Mike Evans for being one of the most consistent players in Tampa Bay Buccaneer history, and possibly go down as the greatest offensive player in Buccaneer history. Where do you see him? Because we were debating that this week. Mike Allstott, Mike Evans.
No, the longevity of Evans, the consistent longevity of production. I think Evans is right there. I think Evans is number one offensively, as the best offensive weapon in the history of the organization.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree with that.
Tough. This game Sunday was a tough watch for 2.5 quarters. I mean, there was for middle of the third quarter, it's 10-7, and it was just ugly. I mean, Baker did not play well. I've kind of hinted that the beginning of the end of Baker. I mean, I've tried. You try to give him the benefit of the doubt, but man, he just, and again, whether it's play calling, whether it's him not being able to see over the line of scrimmage, whatever combination of things, just without that little 2-drive spurt, the Buccaneers were in deep trouble losing that game. They had the little 2-drive spurt where Evans goes for 75, and then the next drive you had Chris. You put a little drive together, nice punt return, and then you have Godwin run the reverse for the 20-yard touchdown. But other than that, man, it was pretty ugly.
Yeah, it was pretty ugly. It was a great day to eat lots of plates, and honestly, I thought we're going to get a lightning delay, and when you get a lightning delay, you can eat more. So you're exactly right. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to watch offensive football because it's offensive football when it comes to the Bucs this year, and hopefully they can put it together. I don't know. I'm a Baker guy. I came into this year thinking he's going to put up Geno Smith type of numbers and they would have success, and they just haven't. But I will say one positive that came out of this game, a couple positives besides Mike Evans, Rachaad White.
Yep.
Another good day there, 20 carries,
84 yards and a touchdown. Yep.
The last 2 weeks, 185 yards total. I mean, that's what you want to see, and it certainly seems like the game plan is changing. He's getting stronger. Something happened. The offensive line has gotten better. Whatever it is, right now, if you become a balanced football team, who knows? You take that pressure off of Baker, and it's not all passing him. I like to see this team come out, have a fast start, and then see how it plays out instead of have their backs against the wall and have to come back, especially versus an awful team like the Panthers.
A couple things I don't understand offensively that we're doing. Anytime we get into short yardage, we never get into an I formation and snap the ball from under center and hand the ball off to Rachaad White for the short yardage black. It's always in the shotgun. It's always in that side saddle handoff on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. If you're going to run the ball, get in the I formation, whether you have to put a fullback in the game, whether it's a tight end or maybe a Vita Vea kind of guy. Let's get into a power formation if we're going to run short yardage in the I formation, even if it's a toss sweep. I just don't like running short yardage out of the shotgun.
I don't either. I don't either. And it's tough because your interior line has had difficulty, although Cody Mock has played better the last couple of weeks. You started to see
Yep.
the reason why they drafted him in the second round. And again, that's to be expected. Rookie guy starting on the right side would have his bumps in the road, but starting to kind of get it. The lights are kind of turning on, as my dad used to say. You're exactly right. And I almost feel like this offense sometimes plays to third down. Like it takes, like, get some first downs before you get to third down. Like, again,
Right.
manageable third down or it's 3rd and 8. Why does it take to make a big play? Get some first downs before you get to that third down. You don't see the continuity. You don't see the explosive plays. I get it. You have Evans there. You don't see enough of that. We don't see enough of explosive plays with this offense. And yes, it is. It is completely boring for the majority of the game. Absolutely.
And more play action on first down. We don't have to run the ball to the left or the right. On a little more play action. Let's get Cade Otton some more touches. I mean, Godwin and Otton have turned into being invisible the last month. I mean, Godwin didn't even have a catch on Sunday. He had 1 carry for 19 yards. He had 3 targets, but no catches, no yards. I mean, that's just you've got to. And we can't keep saying, well, it's the chemistry between Baker and Chris. You got to draw up plays for Chris Godwin or put him in the slot. Whatever we got to do, we got to do a better job. We got to get more involvement from your receiving core.
And when Todd Bowles was asked about this, he was saying that the reason why they're not getting Godwin more involved is because they were subbing him out. But the statistics show that that's not necessarily true because he still played 52 snaps. Now, tonight, as we're recording this broadcast, I don't know if you've seen his wife's comments on Chris Godwin and how she is taking, issue with Todd Bowles and saying what he's saying. And basically she's defending her man. And
right.
Big time debate about that, if that's just her speaking or is that an extension of Chris Godwin.
Well, of course, it's an extension of Chris Godwin.
Right, but it's never a good thing because when you start to hear these type of things,
right,
then the locker room that's when. And again, you have to win this game on Sunday if you
right.
want to win the NFC South. But you have a situation like this, you kind of wonder there's more situations to come because those usually lead to distractions.
So we get to the second half. Bucs score 2 touchdowns in a quick short order from down 10-7. They go to 14-10 with the Evans 75-yard touchdown. They then follow that up with the Chris Godwin run to get to 21-10. Then you have the Panthers at 4th and 12 or whatever the number was. Carlton Davis gets beat on about a 35-yard go route down the sideline. I mean, just not a good job, not a great job there by Carlton. You let them off the hook. They score. They get to 21-16, make the 2-point conversion. You have the unfortunate face mask by Shoyinka on the 2-point play. They then convert that with I'm sorry, not Hubbard, but Bryce Young runs it in. 21-18. They get the ball back later in the game with an opportunity to theoretically tie the game or win the game. And our guy Antoine Winfield seals it late with the interception on the sideline. No pass rush for the Buccaneers. The pass rush was not very good on Sunday. Way too much. I won't say. And again, it was tricky. What do? Do you play coverage against Bryce Young, make him read the coverage, or do you blitz him a bunch, which leads to more man-to-man? You were depleted on defense, but just not a consistent pass rush with the front four.
It's crazy because they had 4 sacks and they did get some pressure against them. But you're exactly.
It didn't feel like it was. No. It didn't feel like it was constant.
No, it didn't feel like it's constant. It hasn't felt like that all year long. And you're still giving up big plays. You're still giving up some chunks of yards, but they didn't have back-breaking plays like this defense is giving up. And oh, by the way, with their linebacking situation with playing Ryan Neal, even though he kind of gets juked out of his jock on the 2-point conversion by Bryce Young, I thought he played relatively well for a 220-pound linebacker, got a game ball after the game. And I thought Russell was more active than Devin White. Whether it's injury or effort, Russell was active. He had a sack in this game. Of course, you talk about Antoine Winfield Jr. I mean, what more can this young man do and accomplish? Defensive player of the week, 8 tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception, of course, to close out the game.
Yeah.
He's been a consistent factor all year long. He's been the gravedigger. He's the guy that has led this defense and definitely is the MVP. But I thought, with not having Levante David and Devin White and even KJ Britt in this game, they still put enough pressure on the quarterback at certain times. even though they gave up some yards on the running game. Pretty good job by J.J. Russell.
And Kalijah Kancey continues to shine. He's doing a good job in there, complimenting Vita Vea. Obviously, Vea probably eats up some of the coverage for Kancey to have some more one-on-ones. But give Kancey credit; he's been a disruptor. He's got 4 or 5 sacks on the year, I believe. So, and he was named the rookie defensive player of the month in the NFC for
Yes.
the month of November. So that's turning out to be a really good draft pick. We still need to see, again, to me, we got to see more from the edge guys. Shoyinka, Diaby, and Barrett have got to be more consistent in their pressure on the edges.
Yeah, I like Diaby there, and I get it. JTS again. I don't know what to make of him.
Situational player at best right now.
Rotation
At
guy,
best.
and on top of it, another 2-point conversion, a stupid play. I get it. He's trying to effort, but you can't commit that penalty. He did that in the Houston game.
Right.
Same thing. Like that's dumb stuff. And he's
Right.
been in the league for a little bit, so he's just a guy at this point. He's a rotation. I love Yaya Diaby. I think the future's bright. People criticize, Jason Light, but you really look at it. Kalijah Kancey, Yaya Diaby, Logan Hall, and you start.
Yeah, Logan Hall. I ain't seen much out of Logan Hall, but Cody Mauch. But he's got Cody Mauch. This year's draft class has been impactful. Cody Mauch, Kancey, Diaby's playing. So yeah, I think again, Christian Izzy.
Trey
Palmer, Christian Izzian. So you're getting a lot of production out of this rookie class by necessity. Unfortunately, I think if things were different, maybe these guys wouldn't be getting as many snaps. A couple of these guys, but give them credit. They've hung in there. They've made plenty of mistakes, but again, Trey Palmer's been good. I think he's going to be a really good number 3 receiver as we move forward. We still haven't seen Trey Palmer get thrown the ball over the top, which I don't get that. If he's the fastest receiver we got and we know he can run, why aren't we throwing one deep ball a week to this guy over the top somehow, some way, even if it just loosens up the coverage for the other guys?
It's either Baker not wanting to do it, Baker not seeing him, Baker not being
or scheming. It might be the play calling.
Right, the play calling, and then when he gets it, then he drops it. I mean, it is various amounts of things this year with this offense. Like, they've had plays down the field. Like, I'm not saying it's all on Baker. Like, these wide receivers have dropped a lot of passes, but you would like to see that aspect more in this game, and you don't see it. And that's what's missing right now. You're missing the big play besides the Mike Evans play there. You like to see Trey Palmer over the top. You like to see – I think Chris Godwin's playing out of position. I think he's wrong. I understand what the Bucs were trying to do, but Chris Godwin is a slot wide receiver.
Live in the slot. That's where he knows how to read those zones. Correct. He understands that stuff beautifully.
Yes, he's not an outside guy, and I understand what the Bucs were trying to do, but you have Trey Palmer. He has that 4.3 speed. Let him use that speed. Let him use that separation. I don't know if he's the greatest route runner, but it seems like he's getting there. Like, he's just a little bit almost there. He could be really a good 3, maybe a 2 wide receiver. It's crazy as it sounds. Maybe one of these wide receivers, the Bucs say, you know what, we're going to move on. We're going to have Trey Palmer step in, or you draft somebody. And as much as I hate to say it, Mike Evans may work his way out of here. I don't.
That's not happening.
I hope it doesn't happen, but let's say it does, or you have Chris Godwin and you say, you know what, maybe we need to move on because he's not going to work in the offense. You just don't know. But Trey Palmer certainly seems like, a draft pick, and that's why I say a lot of fans, a lot of pundits out there very hard on Jason Light. Jason Light knows how to build this football team, and he deserves, the credit for what he's done this year.
I don't think it's again we'll talk. We'll hope. Obviously we're here to support Todd Bowles, but the question of the day is Todd Bowles the man for this job? I mean, is he able to coach him up enough and be an inspirational enough guy and be the aggressive enough guy as a head coach, whether it's picking the right offensive coordinator, offensive system, whatever. And again, the number one thing you have to do, and no matter what team you are, you got to find the trigger man. You got to find an impact quarterback, whether it's I just don't, like you and I've talked. I just don't know if it's Baker Mayfield long term. Could he be a backup quarterback? Yeah, but I don't think he's going to stay here as a backup. I think Kyle Trask can be that guy. The decision the Buccaneers have to figure out is the quarterback situation moving forward. Is it, do you get somebody in free agency? Do you trade for somebody, or do you go to the draft and draft somebody?
I think you have to draft somebody. If there's somebody out there, and look, you lose on Sunday, and I don't think they're going to, but let's say they do. To me, the season's over. And to me, that's where you got to take a look at Kyle Trask. And
Yep.
you got to evaluate. And you
I
got to
think once you get 2 games out of the race, you got to go to Kyle Trask. Right now, they're still 1 game back,
Yep.
both wild card and the division. I think if you get to 2 games out of first place, and that could be after Sunday. If you lose in Atlanta Sunday, you're 2 games out. You're really 3 games out because they've swept you.
Yep.
So the division's over. If you lose Sunday, you're 3 behind with 4 to play, and you're pretty much done. I mean, you're probably done with trips to Green Bay. You got Jacksonville coming. You're probably done. If you don't win Sunday, you're probably done.
Yeah, you may get a break with
Minnesota and the Rams losing.
yeah,
but
but you may get a break with Jacksonville because they're
but you're 3 behind the division, and that's your most viable path to the playoffs.
Exactly. That's where you want your home game, and that's what was to be expected when you did all
Yeah.
the re-signing and you didn't go with a full rebuild.
Yeah.
You could easily went with a full rebuild, and if you're going to go with a full rebuild,
You draft a quarterback.
You draft a quarterback, or you start Kyle Trask for this
Right.
year. You take all the bumps in the road, you evaluate him, and if he's not the guy, then you have a higher draft pick. But I think it's a year where you have to evaluate, you have to see if he's the guy. And if he's not the guy, being a second-round pick, then you have to cut your losses and say, this is the guy, it's not going to work. We need to go out there and get a quarterback. Because there have been teams before that invest, premium picks. The Arizona Cardinals, that's an example. Josh Rosen 1 year, the next year they turned the page on Kyler Murray. Was it the right decision? He had some success, but teams have done that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Keep going.
No, I mean, I'm just saying that you're not necessarily locked into a quarterback. And a guy that I love, and it's personal favorite, and I don't know if he's going to be there or not where the Bucs pick, Michael Penix. 24 years old.
Local kid.
Local kid. He's had knee injuries. Maybe there's some teams that, don't want to draft him. I mean, you look at the numbers, you look at all the throws, you look at the film and what he's done for that team, and it's an amazing story, going undefeated.
He reminds me very much a little more arm strength of a Tua.
That's exactly who he reminds me of. Very accurate.
Not a runner. He is a pocket passer, thrower of the ball. Yep. Very, very good anticipation. Is in a pro-style offense out of Washington and has put up big numbers. You saw what he did to Oregon last week. He's had a great year. Heisman Trophy finalist. Again, local product. You maybe wonder him being back in Tampa, is that the best place for him? Being back here, you wonder about that. But this is a quarterback-rich draft, and there's going to be opportunities with other guys around the league. Justin Fields potentially, Kyler Murray potentially. Could those guys be available through trade that you could potentially upgrade at quarterback? But my point is, this is the year you have to make a quarterback decision because this is a very rich quarterback class, whether it's in the league and or the draft.
Yeah, free agency is not good. There's only one guy there, and I know the Bucs have had a better job with veteran quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins. If you want
to coming off of an Achilles tear, you never know.
Right. Do you want to go in that direction? Maybe the value is low. Maybe you re-sign a Baker and you still draft a quarterback and you have him as your bridge. But I don't know. I feel like I'm at the point where I've kind of seen enough, and this is who he is. And I hope that I'm not right about this. I hope he can show up here the last couple of games. But I think it's apparent to me there's a reason why this guy's been moved off of other teams. And it's okay to say, well, he hasn't had a consistent offense or an offensive coordinator or coach. That's fair, but there's a reason why he hasn't necessarily worked out in this league, whether it's from injury in the past, of him not throwing the deep ball accurately enough, or just not being able to read a defense or focusing on too much of a
tall enough. Physical limitations.
Physical limitations to that. I love him. I love he's gritty. He's going for third down. I love the attitude, but I think there's some limitations there, and you start to see it when you look at it. And it's right in front of you, and you watch it enough, and you're like, that guy's only going to take you so far.
And let's congratulate Baker Mayfield. He and his wife are expecting a child that was announced publicly this week. So congratulations to the Mayfield family. You're gonna have a nice new addition to the house. All right, so the Bucs moved to 5-7. Again, we've talked about it. They're still 1 game behind first. The Falcons, who somehow beat the Jets, the anemic Jets.
Susan Boyle and the
Yeah,
Jets there.
who's been cut? Who's been cut now? We're back to the Zach Wilson at Bayside High School. Saved by the Bell. Zach is back in the
I'd
Zach
have Zach
attack is
Morris.
back.
I'd rather have AC Slater at this.
That's right.
I mean, Kelly
Mr. Belding, we got Mr. Belding calling plays up in New York.
Oh my God. Yeah, Kelly Kapowski and Jesse Spano and Lisa Turtle and even
Yes.
Screech, God bless him, Dustin Diamond. Let's have him start because goodness gracious. I mean, I get it. You put all your eggs in one basket with Aaron Rodgers. It hurts for plays. But God, this quarterback the quarterback room is so terrible. Like you couldn't go sign Joe Flacco. Like Trevor Siemian, Zach Wilson. This
could have traded for Josh Dobbs when they were still in it. Could have traded for Josh Dobbs, who would have been a massive upgrade over what they had. But yeah, so that's we don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that. Yeah,
their quarterback. But you're exactly right. Their defense kept them in the game. And Atlanta, Desmond Ridder. I mean, what did he throw for 124? I mean, he's a terrible quarterback. He's not going anywhere. And I still can't understand how he beat the Bucs besides the turnover by Baker.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Points, and then the defense not being able to shut them down after Baker and the offense lead them down for a field goal that's apparently going to win the game for them. They're not able to shut it down.
And in New Orleans, you have the Saints. The Saints they go down with Jameis Winston having to come in for Derek Carr. We're not sure. Winston very likely could start this week against Carolina. A lot of Carr's in concussion protocol, other shoulder injury. He took a vicious. He's taken a beating this year in New Orleans, and but the Saints are in the same spot, 5-7. But the Bucs again, one game behind Atlanta. Head to Atlanta this Sunday, indoor game in Mercedes-Benz. This is again playoff game. If the Bucs lose, they're probably done because 2 games behind, which means 3 in the law, 3 really because of the tiebreaker. This is a de facto playoff game, and at least Todd has admitted that, and they all understand that. They all know what's going on. That this is a gotta have it game. Injury wise, sounds like from what Todd said in the press conference on Wednesday, Levante David and Servassier Dennis back at practice. That's a good sign. No Jamel Dean, no Devin White as of yet. Doesn't mean they won't play, but more encouraging that Levante David and Servassier Dennis, the linebacking core, could be some fortification here on Sunday.
Yeah, I want to see them anyway. I want to see both of those guys. I've seen enough of Devin White. I'm almost to the point where I'm ready to move on and see. I always said you keep the same energy. If you don't want to see Baker anymore, you want to see what Kyle Trask has. Let's see what Servassier Dennis and J.J. Russell have over Devin White. If he's hurt, or if he's not performing, which he hasn't, he's definitely been lacking. And that I would go with Levante David and Servassier Dennis. I think that helps your
and maybe you found a versatility with Ryan Neal, a guy that's undersized, but he's versatile enough to maybe cover running backs out of the backfield a little bit better, maybe able to mask some of the weaknesses in the youth of the linebacking core.
Last safety that you can remember that went from safety to linebacker. Can you remember? He played at the University of Georgia.
Safety to linebacker.
Yeah. Safety to linebacker. He was
for the Buccaneers or just you talking about
for the Bucs? For the Bucs.
Jermaine Phillips.
Very good. Very good. And he had all the forearm injuries, remember?
Yep. Yep.
They were trying to convert him from safety to linebacker, come out of Georgia. He was supposed to be the next coming of John Lynch, and then eventually that's what they always say. That's what Bucs fans always say. Anytime a safety gets, Sabby Piscatelli.
Easy.
John Lynch. That's what the people used to say on the message boards all the time. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what, Wow.
Yeah, he's not. Nobody's John Lynch, but yeah, maybe. Ryan Neal, I mean, it hasn't done a great job with taking angles and making tackles as a safety, so maybe put him at the linebacking situation. Maybe you found something there that you didn't necessarily want to find. I mean, who knows?
This is gonna be a manhood game for the Buccaneers because you're gonna get a heavy dose of the running game. Bijan, you're gonna get Algier, Ritter's mobile. You're gonna, the wide receiver core is coming on along a little bit. You're gonna get more Kyle Pitts, more Drake London. So again, this is gonna be a in the trenches kind of game. So the front 7 is gonna be critical for the Buccaneers to stay in this game. And again, give me a thought there with your second time you've seen the Falcons. You kind of know they know each other pretty well. These staffs have been around for a couple of years, so they know each other. this is going to be again the Bucs had I won't say control of the game, but 3 turnovers I believe in the last game was a major. They got 3 turn. Remember the fluky play with the fumble around the goal line by the Falcons that didn't turn into a fumble with the replay and all that. So it was a kind of a goofy game with the first time. Probably going to be a low scoring kind of game, 20-17 kind of game. What do you see as we head to Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, this is an opportunity for this Bucks offense to really take off, especially the offensive line, because the Falcons as a defense getting after a quarterback only have 26 sacks, and I believe they lost Grady Jarrett, right?
I believe he's out. Yep.
So you
But
lose Grady
again,
Jarrett.
good secondary with Jesse Bates, the guy that's come over from the Bengals. The Falcon defense has actually been way better than they were supposed to be throughout the year. They've done a good job defensively. I don't know who the D coordinator is, but Arthur Smith's done a good job getting that defense. Not a lot of pressure, but again, defensively, they've not given up a ton of points. They've been very competitive. And again, to me, this is an offensive game for the Buccaneers. You're on indoor, you're on turf. There's no weather excuses. Obviously, it'll be an opposing crowd, but you should have some opportunities in the passing game and in the running game. We've seen some more life in the running game the last 2, 3, 4 weeks. With some more burst runs out of Rachaad White. And I like that the Bucs are not rotating a whole lot at running back. Rachaad White's getting 75% of the snaps. That's what we need. No, very little Chase Edmonds here and there a little bit, but let's lean on Rachaad White.
I'm glad you mentioned that. 35 carries, 184 yards, 1 touchdown the last 2 weeks. He's definitely a bell cow. If you use them in that way, and that offensive line seems like they're getting more confidence. The matchup I'm looking at is who's going to step up. Is it going to be Mike Evans? Are you going to bracket coverage? Because
they're gonna make Baker throw to somebody else.
Well, AJ Terrell is out of this game with possibly concussion protocol. So
Okay.
you have a matchup there with Mike Evans. So you bracket coverage. Can you get Chris Godwin involved? Can you get Trey Palmer?
Trey Palmer, yes.
With all
Kate Otten. Let's get the tight end some more throws too.
With all this stuff coming out about Chris Godwin, I have a feeling he's about to have a game. I'll go with Chris Godwin in this.
Yep. All right. Special teams wise, again, McLaughlin's done a great job kicking the ball for the Bucs. Camarda's been pretty good, very reliable for the most part. No issues there. And again, your guy, the punt god, please. He had a couple of punt shitters the other day, not a couple of not so good ones. And again, the weather conditions, that's a tough spot. But again, and he's going back home. He's a Georgia kid, so going back to his hometown and home area and all that stuff. But if you're the Bucs, I mean, again, you're not turning the ball over a bunch, which is a good thing. But Baker, remember the Atlanta game? He had a horrific interception around the goal inside the 10-yard line in that Atlanta game. He tried to jam one in there, and you can't do that. You can't force the ball. I won't say the check down all the time because I don't want him checking the ball down every time. But you got to get off your number one option if he's not there. Get to the number 2 and throw the ball away if that's not there.
Yeah, exactly. Live to fight another day, and you're exactly right. He was trying to go to Cade Otton. He decided before, it was snapped, he was going to go there, and it wasn't there. It was in double coverage. So you could have went down to White there in the flat. You're exactly right. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. The Bucs have every opportunity to have everything to lose in this game, and if you're going to win a division, win one of the worst divisions, it starts on Sunday.
If they win, they're in first place. You hate to say it. Yep. They win, they're in first place, and just as important, they're right there in the wild card because remember, the Bucs. If the Bucs and the Vikings are tied at the end, they got the head-to-head with the Vikings after that Week 1 win. So you're right there with the Vikings and the Rams and the Packers. And guess who you play next week on the road? You go to Green Bay. So there's great opportunity. You can win. Figure out a way to win this game. You're tied for the lead in the division. Plus, you go to Green Bay next week for a potential double up in a tiebreaker scenario in the wild card. So you got a great opportunity in front of you these next 2 weeks if you're the Buccaneers.
Agree, completely agree.
All right, Peter Blake, give me before I get your prediction. I know we got a lot of Florida State fans that listen to the podcast. A lot of Florida Staters that are Buck fans too. Give me a quick thought on the Seminoles. What your thought on should they have been left out or not?
Disgusting, disrespectful by the 13 members.
Wow, I disagree, but go ahead.
Committee, that team earned it. They should have been there. People want to bring up TCU last year because they got their doors blown off by Georgia. look, TCU wasn't even undefeated, didn't even win their conference, and they still had the opportunity to play. These kids deserve better. Jordan Travis, I get it with the injury, but you're not playing your third stringer. You play the third stringer in the Louisville game, you're going to play your second guy. Your defense was lights out. Jordan Travis deserved better because he came back. He could have went into the draft. Johnny Wilson deserved better. He went into the draft today, but he came out to specifically win a championship, and Jared Verse deserved better because he could have went into the draft, and he stayed to win a national championship. And it's just a shame that, we love sports, but you have to let it be decided on the field. And,
let me rebut. Let me give you a quick rebuttal.
Yeah.
If you're Tate Rodemaker, you have to play better than you played in Gainesville. You played terrible in Gainesville.
Right.
You played terrible. You have to be honest. I know I'm a Florida State guy. He played pretty poorly in Gainesville. Had he played well in Gainesville, they would have got the benefit of the doubt with the third stringer playing against Louisville. I am 1,000% convinced of that. Had he played well in Gainesville and they won, no matter what Florida State did against Louisville, as long as they won the game, they were going to get the benefit of the doubt. But he did not play nowhere near for a guy that's been in that program 3-4 years. He wasn't a true freshman. And remember, he played 2.5 quarters the week before against North Alabama. So you can't say, well, he hadn't played all year. He just played 2.5 quarters the week before when Travis got hurt. Rodemaker's got to play better in Gainesville against a below-average Florida defense.
Then with that being said, what changed? Why not just rank the other teams over Florida State and not give them any hope?
But you know why? And this is not mentioned. When the ranking came out, when they kept Florida State at 4 on that Tuesday, we didn't know that Rodemaker wasn't going to play against Louisville. The assumption was Rodemaker was going to play against Louisville. We didn't know till Friday before the Louisville game that he wasn't going to play. That's why they kept him at 4.
My problem is, the team is more than just one player, and that defense played lights out. They held Louisville, who was scoring 33 points a game, to 6. We've seen it before. We've seen it with Ohio State. We've seen it with TCU last year.
The New York Jets, bro. Good defense, really good defense, pitiful offense with the backup quarterback. It's the New York Jets.
At least you got the chance, because I think they got a lot more weapons than the Jets. They got a running game. You got 2 quality wide receivers in Wilson and, of course, Keon Coleman, which most likely will be in Sunday. You don't know. Everybody wants to be Miss Cleo and say, well, we're so psychic and we think they're going to lose and get their doors blown off. Give them the chance. Let them play. That's the reason why you have sports in the first place. Let them play the game.
This was an awkward year. You had 6 really good teams for 4 spots. Somebody was going to get left out. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, I think the committee got the right 4 teams for the teams that can win the title. And I'm a Florida State guy, and I hate to say that. I just think this was a bad draw for Florida State with the year. All right, give me a score prediction in Atlanta Sunday.
20-17 Bucs.
All right, and I'm going to go 23-16 Bucs. Late touchdown to your boy Chris Godwin with the game winner late for the 23-16 W in Atlanta. Keep your playoff hopes alive. Buck fans, buckpower.com is your place to go. Video, audio, all that good stuff. Jason Powers YouTube channel. Hurry, quick, Peter Blake, tell us where they can find the Sports Web.
The Sports Web on YouTube. That's it. We're out of here. Go Bucs!
All right, here we go, fellas. And also, thanks for finding us. We'll see you next time. No Quarter Given podcast. See you next week, Buck fans.